Reports are coming in from all over the world that television news reporters are blowing up. These unlikely rumors have...
Explosions, mayhem, genuine fire on a television set in the 1970s. This is the wild story of how the Muppet Show turned controlled chaos into an art form, and why the crew might have needed hazard pay. The powder days. Alright, where do you want to start? The beginning. Back in the early Muppet days, explosions were charmingly simple. We're talking the Wilkins coffee commercials era here, where the setup was literally a funnel, some duct tape, and baby powder. A puppeteer would blow into a tube connected to this contraption. The powder would puff out, add a sound effect in post-production, and boom. Well, not boom exactly, more like poof. You'd see these particles just floating around after the explosion, giving the whole thing away as the low-budget magic it was. But then something changed, and speaking of things that explode with creativity from here, if you're enjoying this deep dive into Muppet Mayhem, hit that subscribe button, because we've got more surprises coming your way. Enter Don Sahlin, the mad genius. By the time the Muppet Show launched in 1976, Muppet designer Don Sahlin had developed something far more dangerous, exciting, and completely insane for a puppet show. Real pyrotechnics, actual fire, genuine explosions on a television soundstage surrounded by foam and fabric puppets. The differences were immediately obvious. Where the powder technique gave you floating particles and a gentle puff, Sahlin's pyrotechnics brought smoke, sparks, flashes of light, and that unmistakable crack of something actually detonating. This wasn't movie magic from a safe distance. This was happening right there, sometimes inches from performers and guest stars. And here's the thing about Don Sahlin. He didn't just love explosions for the show. Dave Goelz described how Sahlin would wire up little remote control explosives called squibs all over the office, running the wires back to a doorbell hidden under his desk. He'd just sit there, having a completely normal conversation with you, waiting for the perfect moment, and then you went. That's dedication to the craft, or possibly just chaos for chaos's sake. Technical reality. So how did they actually pull this off without burning down the entire studio? Flashpods. The technical term sounds almost mundane, but the reality was anything but. These devices use flash powder and flash paper loaded into small brass tubes, or pots. When ignited, the flash paper and powder burned so incredibly fast that theoretically you could hold your hand over it and only feel intense heat for a split second. Theoretically. But nobody with any sense actually tried that on a regular basis. For different effects, they'd mix it up. Need sparks? Load the flash pot with sparkle burst powder. Want flames shooting up? Add flash paper with some smoke powder. Need a full fireball effect? Throw in some flash cotton behind the flash paper because it burns even quicker, shooting the paper out of the tube and igniting it mid-air. Crazy Harry's Reign of Terror. Let's talk about the character who made all this controlled chaos his entire personality. Crazy Harry. That wild-eyed, orange-bearded menace who showed up with a detonator and an itchy trigger finger whenever anyone said words like dynamite, bang, or blast. His first appearance wasn't even as Crazy Harry. In the Muppets Valentine Show from 1974, he was called Crazy Donald, but the bit was the same. Someone says the wrong word, and boom, Donald sets off an explosion. By the time the Muppet Show properly launched, he'd become Harry, and the running gag had been refined to perfection. Episode 117 with Ben Vereen might have been Harry's finest hour. He set off 3 explosions before Vereen's second number, one during the talk spot, another when Ben mentioned getting a big charge out of being on the show, and a finale when Vereen called the show Dynamite. Several of these explosions literally threw the guest star into the rafters. Imagine being Ben Vereen, a respected Broadway performer, and being told, yes, we're actually going to blow you up, multiple times. Hope that's cool. In episode 218 with J.P. Morgan, things got properly out of hand. A bomb J.P. gave to Scooter exploded.
It's not going to be just another cute puppet show.
Kermit demonstrated explosions during the talk spot. Crazy Harry baked a cake that exploded in JP's dressing room. The Swedish chef found a bomb in a coconut and exploded. A whatnot woman's head exploded in at the dance. Waldorf's bomb went off, and Crazy Harry blew up Gonzo's trumpet. That's 7 separate explosions in a single episode of a family variety show. The safety question. Here's what you're probably wondering, was anyone actually worried about this? Well, yes and no. Professional pyrotechnic experts were on hand for the Muppet Show productions. They had to be. These weren't Hollywood films where you could shoot explosions outdoors from a safe distance, then edit them in later. This was a live studio production with audience members, valuable puppets, expensive camera equipment, and performers who kind of needed their faces and hands to do their jobs. The key was that flash powder and flash paper burned so fast that there's barely any time for heat transfer. The danger came from outside factors. One theatrical pyrotechnics expert years later had a fireball hit them in the face, and the only thing that saved them from serious injury was not wearing hairspray. As it was, they got singed eyebrows, and a very good story. Compare this to earlier Hollywood productions like The Wizard of Oz in 1939, where Margaret Hamilton suffered second and third degree burns when her cape caught in a platform during the Wicked Witch's disappearing act. Her makeup, which contained copper, heated up against her skin. When they tried to remove the green makeup from the burned areas using acetone, the solvent caused agonizing pain. That's what happens when pyrotechnics go wrong. The Muppet Show managed to avoid disasters like that through expertise and probably a bit of luck, though you have TAO wonder if the insurance premiums were absolutely through the roof. Beyond Crazy Harry. Explosions weren't just Harry's domain, though he was certainly the most enthusiastic repeat offender. The show used explosions for all sorts of visual gags. Gonzo's gong exploded when he hit it in the opening, repeatedly. Sometimes Crazy Harry would blow up Gonzo himself when he tried to blow his trumpet, which seems a bit redundant, but apparently got laughs every time. Bunsen Honeydew's inventions exploded with impressive regularity. The Swedish chef's cooking experiments detonated. Guest stars' dressing rooms blew up. Muppet Labs was basically a bomb waiting to happen every week. In episode 307 with Alice Cooper, the school literally blew up during the closing number School's Out. Nobody triggered it. The building just exploded. Gonzo appeared through the smoke holding a bill from the special effects department, which was probably the closest the show came to acknowledging that maybe they'd gone a bit overboard. The technique evolution. By the time Muppets Tonight rolled around in the 1990s, things had changed. The explosions became more smoke and powder effects, less actual fire and sparks. Health and safety regulations had tightened up. Technology had advanced to the point where you could create convincing explosions with less actual danger. You can see the difference if you watch the shows back to back. The Muppet Show explosions have that genuine pyrotechnic quality, flares and fire clouds, and smoke that moves differently because something actually combusted. The later shows look safer because they were safer, but they lost a bit of that beautiful anarchy that made the original so special. Why it mattered. The thing about all this controlled chaos is that it was not only about the laughs, it was about commitment to the bit. The Muppet Show could have done cartoon sound effects and simple camera tricks. Instead, they brought in real pyrotechnic experts and actual explosives, because that extra level of reality made the absurdity even funnier. When you watch Waldorf in episode 101 doing a commentary about the Muppets' reliance on explosions for comedy, right before his own cigar explodes in his face, that's not only a joke. That's the show winking at you while doubling down on exactly what Waldorf was complaining about. The chaos was the point, anarchy was the art form. So there you have it, the true story of how the Muppet Show made television history by quite literally playing with fire. From baby powder in a funnel to full pyrotechnic displays, from Don Sahlin's office pranks to Crazy Harry's on-screen reign of terror, those explosions were as real as the laughs they generated. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into Muppet Mayhem, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more stories from behind the scenes of your favorite shows. Because just like those flash pots, we've got plenty more sparks to share. I'll see you in the next one.